Well, hi, everybody. This is DearMamaSal, and we are live on a Friday lunchtime, which means it's time for us to talk about coping with our feelings. And in particular today, what I wanted to talk about is our feelings about color. And the reason I say that is it's springtime, and it has an effect, and I want to make sure that we understand why um, we are sort of genetically geared to feel brighter and happier in springtime and summer. And so, with that in mind, I just want to make sure that those of you who might be new to watching the stream, welcome. We always enjoy having new people around. And I just want to let you know we're a group of people who get together 3 times a week. And we go through life together. We have ups and we have downs, and we have good days and bad days, and we have sickness and health, and all those things. We have tragedy and great celebrations. And what we try to do every week is make sure that you all understand these things are normal. Just because it looks as though I may have the perfect life, it's not, it's no different from anybody else's. I always say that to people. And I'm very grateful to the regulars who come in and support us in this work. Jody, our admin, who is here. Jody, always a pleasure to see you here. And Jeannie, our backup admin for Jody, always pleasure to see you as well. So thank you so much for being here to help us. So the group of us that get together, we try and talk about things and understand our lives. To get emotionally more intelligent is a big thing on Friday lunchtime, that we understand that to get off the hamster wheel of emotional overload. And I would like to say that I, for one, am very grateful that I learned that, because all sorts of things come at us at any time. And to be able to get off that hamster wheel and realize, if I let go of the emotion, what are the facts I am left with, is perhaps for me the most leveling, if you like, peacemaking tactic that I've ever found. And I'm pretty certain that those of you who practice that will say the same as well. Before we get on to the broadcast itself, I just wanted to give thoughts and prayers to Jody. She's off to the specialist on Monday, so Jody, all the best for that. And I'm not sure if there are any other what shall I say, thoughts and prayers needed out there. And if there are, if I don't know about it, please write to me at DearMamaSal@gmail.com, and I will make sure that we put in those thoughts and prayers. It's an interesting thing, isn't it, that we will support Jody going to the specialist. And today I was hearing about a friend of my sister's who they've just found out she's got some sort of pressure going on in her brain, but it's not a mass. It's not a tumor of some sort, but something else is going on. And you go, gosh, there, but for fortune, go all of us, all right? And so be very aware of your feelings about your health and do everything you can to protect it and upgrade it. I know that I'm feeling a little bit this week because I think you all know I've done a lot to change my food intake. I think Jody reminded me of a wonderful expression, excuse me, that weight loss happens in the kitchen and fitness happens in the gym, or out walking or whatever. But, I had it all wrong last year. I really thought that fitness would equal loss of weight. Well, I guess I did lose 7 pounds last year, but this year already I have lost 10 because I'm changing what I do in the kitchen. And, we do that on Friday evenings where we talk about that and work with it and do what we can to improve making fun, tasty meals, but, not necessarily, going to mess with my weight too much. And I am really quite surprised. I have now kept, I reached a goal at the beginning, about the middle of March, and I've managed to keep that goal way below that goal ever since then. So I'm really, really happy. And I'm on my way, of course, to the next goal now. So, and I don't know about you guys, but I do my goals in 5 pounds. And for those of you who don't know, my big goal, my big goal is to be overweight. Now, you're probably wondering, who wants to be overweight? Well, I do. Why? Because I am still considered to be obese. And even though, I've lost all this weight, it's just like, hello, and I'm losing weight here and everywhere else, but I am still obese. Can you believe that? And, I think I've got about 20 pounds or more to go if I want to just get overweight, never mind the ideal weight. Do I think I will ever get to my ideal weight? No. Do I want to? Not really. But I would like to be out of obese. That is my big time goal. And I'm feeling pretty good that I have found the formula for that for me. But what I discovered, and that made me upset, was that my blood sugars have been increasing slightly. And from a discussion I had with Jody, who knows all about these things, it's very possibly the medication that I've been put on for my blood pressure. So, it is what it is. I got to deal with it. So I've got a choice now: either accept the higher blood glucose or adjust what I'm doing in the kitchen even more. And I'm wondering if, and Jody probably will be able to tell me this, I'm wondering if just increasing the amount of liquid will bring that down on its own. So that's probably something that's something I'm going to be working on this week to see if I can bring it down just by increasing the liquid. So color your world. How many of you know that color changes your mood? And you probably have a favorite color. And so my question to you is, what is your favorite color and why? Right? If I had to say to you, what is your favorite color and why? I've always been, I think, and there's a collective word for what my colors are. I'm very much a black, white, yellow, red person. I think it's called a winter person, right? I am very much into solid, or even royal blue. It's just like I really like solid colors, and I think that's called a winter person. Right? I don't often, I do occasionally, as you all know, because you all comment on it. I do occasionally wear something that is, pastel or something, but it doesn't feel right on me. I don't know why. It's just like, I think part of it, because I was a performer, that, when you have black, red, and white as your base wardrobe, for example, you can interchange them all the time and create totally different outfits just by, being able to do that. So, black, white, and red to me were always great colors to have. They were very dramatic on stage, but also, they were easy to mix and match if I was traveling for a few days. So I think I got into the habit of that. And I'm going to talk about the colors in our homes in a second. Jody's saying I have two favorite, purple and aqua. Aqua reminds me of the beach, that I've always found purple calming too. Yes, I'm going to talk about why, Jody, in a second. Jeannie's saying my favorite color is turquoise, teal, aqua. You see, again, it looks good on me and I enjoy seeing it. When our home burned, our bathroom wall was blue. When we rebuilt it, we made it blue again. Absolutely. And I'm going to show you why blue is such an effective color, Jeannie, for calm. All right. That's part of the discussion today. I found it interesting when I had my fire and repainted my whole house. I repainted it in a sort of deep charcoal bluey gray. So there's a tinge of blue to it, but there's also that deep gray. Those are all my accent walls. And the other walls are a very light, almost purpley gray. All right. So we're going to discuss that in a second, exactly what these things mean. So the reason I wanted to talk about color today is because I felt, I try to go out every Wednesday. I try not to go out unless I really have to, but I do it on Wednesdays. I try and do what I call the trip on Wednesdays. And I wonder how many of you are changing the way that you drive because of the price of gasoline at the moment. So to me, it's like if I have to go out, it's on a Wednesday. Unless I have an appointment that isn't a Wednesday. I try to make my appointments on Wednesdays as well, and that's the day I go out. And I decided for my outing this week, I would go and get some flowers for my garden. Now, I know some of you are saying, isn't it a bit early, Sal? Yes, even here in southern British Columbia, it is a bit earlier, but I did know that I could get winter pansies and they'd be fine. So I put some winter pansies in my garden and they were bright yellow. And then I also put some deep, almost black. Do I have a picture of them? Yes. All right. It's a perennial. You see that? So against that bright, bright yellow are these almost black ones. Aren't they pretty? And so, yeah, we used to call them violas. That's right. But apparently they're called perennial pansies. Duh. So that deep purple, and by the way, my house siding is yellow. So you understand that this color and yellow are going to look really nice against that. And what I love is they are now this bright color. All right. And my tulips are about to bloom. And my tulips, I have one group of tulips that are red and the others are yellow. So you understand this is all going to be, and I've put the pansies in containers behind those. So there's going to be a big show of color coming in the next couple of weeks. Yay. I'm very excited about that. Now, I also did, I was a bad girl, but it made me feel great. Right? I also bought myself another rose. And I think some of you know I'm a big thing now about David Austin roses. And so I bought one 2 years ago called the Lady Gardener, which is really pretty. And I'll find a picture of that for you. But this is my one this year. Don't you think that's pretty? And imagine a yellow house behind that. All right. So and what I love about these roses is they start off looking like a regular tea rose, but then they end up with this incredibly complex leaf pattern inside. They're just so great. So this grows to about 3.5 to 4 feet. So I got it in a container, and I'm really looking forward to that. And will it look really pretty inside my house against that charcoal type wall? You bet. So I'm very excited about that. Now, did I, have to basically mortgage my house to get that? Yeah. The other thing I got, which again was a total squandering on my part, I tried to remember what did I miss from my previous house, and what I missed was I had something called a Limelight Hydrangea, and it looks like this. And I love it because these blooms, when it first comes out, are this sort of lime color. And then as the summer happens, they start to turn a little bit more white. And then as the fall starts, those blooms turn a pink. And then by the time they are dead with the winter, they are a sort of tanny brown. Do you want to see what the color looks like? Hold on. So in winter, the bush will be covered in dead blooms looking like this. Now, as you can probably see, that is still a beautiful looking uh, bloom. And so what I love about it, it flowers basically the whole year, right? And because only in the spring do I cut back those dead heads. Actually, sometimes I cut them back beforehand because what I will do is I will cut these dead blooms and I will spray paint them and then add them as decoration to Christmas presents, for example. You know, just spray them silver and use it as a Christmas decoration. So I really miss that. So what I did was I bought the baby version of it because I'm in a smaller house now, and that's it. So I'm really looking forward to being able to show you pictures of that. Now, what else did I get? Oh, I know what else I got. Um, I got some 4-inch geraniums. Okay. And that's a really sort of pinky red color. I know that all our computer screens will show it slightly differently, but it's pretty vibrant as a color. And then to go with it, underneath it, I don't know if you can see that, is a deep blue trailing lobelia. Now, what is a trailing lobelia? That's got little blue flowers on it, and then these will be in containers, and then that blue will cascade off the side of um, the containers. So I like that, and I will probably, not probably, I will go back in May, and I will buy some Elysium, that's that little white stuff, and I will also buy some impatiens to go under my tree in the it's covered there. You know, my tree. I have this big red-leaved maple tree, and I'm going to put impatiens underneath it, probably with a little bit more lobelia around it as well. So I'm really looking forward to that. And again, what I wanted to explain to you is the feeling I got when I walked into the nursery and saw color. And so I really recommend those of you who can get out and do want to get out, even if you don't buy anything, you know, go to a nursery and go see the colors that are beginning to come out. Obviously, as the each couple of weeks passes, it'll be even more. As I said it, I want you to be careful because these days, just that cost me $6, just one. And you know I bought a flat of them. All right. And that's the incredible price. I was horrified at the price. So, and I can't remember what this cost, but it was nearly as bad. And it's, you know, pretty small. But you can see already it's trying to cascade. Can you see that? That's the deep purple one or the deep blue. So what I'm going to be doing is building my garden more into a perennial garden. That means that I don't have to plant things so much every year that automatically these things will start to grow. The downside of that is you have to break things up. And one of the things I really love um, that I have in my garden, and I was talking to Jody about that, is a plant called, yeah, Elianthus, I think is how you pronounce it. Now, I've already got this in a couple of tubs that I have got tiger lilies in. So if you can imagine this surrounding, you know, tiger lilies that come up in between it, really gorgeous. And what I did this last year was when they had finished their season, I collected the seed. Now, they actually normally grow from bulbs in the ground, but you know they start off with seeds. And as you probably heard last week, um, I'm so excited. I'm feeling really happy because these seeds, obviously, and you see already it's got those poker things coming up. So these are already looking pretty good. Now, will they flower this year? Probably not. But can you imagine what it's going to look like by next year? And now that I know that the seeds germinate pretty easily, how many of you know that within a couple of years, I'm going to have a garden of incredible pokers coming up. I call them the purple pokers because that's what they look like to me. So what I realized was that obviously I am a rose person. So my roses are inclined to be pinks and peachy colors. I do have one red one and I have a yellow one, but it's sort of like that brings me in those pastel colors. And then I try to make the contrast of it pretty, deep blues, purples, whatever, so that it's a real contrast. And then, as I said, this shocking pink color, but then with deep purple next to it. And probably I will have white next to it as well. So yes, Jody's saying pricey, but the joy it will bring is pleasure. Yes, this is all right. I allow myself one of these. This is 2 years since I bought one, and so what I'm trying to do is to build a rose garden, and I may have to move my roses around because I'm not sure if where I've got the new rose garden is going to be the right place for them, whether they'll get enough sun. We'll find out this first year. But yes, it is a pricey thing, as Jody so rightly says, but the pleasure it brings, is it worth it? To me, yes. To me, there's nothing nicer than to go out in a summer morning and go cut purples and pinks. And you can even cut geraniums. I don't know if you know that, but you can actually add geraniums in as a color if you're doing cut flowers. And so I love that. It's one of my joys in life to be able to do that. So just before I go into the individual colors, I wanted to talk a little bit about that blue that Jeannie was talking about. Jeannie, I don't know if you know this, but they did an experiment in the railway station in Tokyo. Because what they had is an awful lot of people committing suicide on their railway stations. And for some reason, they did some experiments, and one of the colors that they used was blue. And they found that when they had blue lights on the railway station platform, that the number of suicides was dramatically decreased. Now you're going, that's a coincidence. But because it was so successful, in England, Gatwick Airport, on their train platforms, they did the same experiment. And so what they found out was this blue light made people less impulsive and more calm. So a great color to have in your bathroom. I have a bluey gray in my, more gray than blue, but it has a slight tinge of blue to it in my bathroom, right? So I understand that. And one of the great things about changing up your colors is that you can bring whatever. I would imagine, is your bathroom a deep blue or a light blue? I know Jody chose to put in a vanity that had a sort of deep French blue countertop to it. And I am certain every time she walks in there, that's a very dramatic color to have, but it's that bluey color. So that bluey color will go, wow, that's dramatic, but wow, isn't that peaceful? And I thought, what a great color to have in your bathroom against white, of course. Very dramatic. So what I found was a number of things. Number one, obviously going out and just walking amongst the plants. How many of you can imagine how peaceful I was feeling until I started picking things up? Wasn't feeling quite so peaceful then. But one of the interesting things that happened was there was a lady who was tending the plants, and she chose to come and talk to me And then I realized after a very short time that she was concerned. And she was concerned because she could see I had, basically bought shares in the nursery by the flats of plants that I had, not just one or two, but, like 16 at a time or 24 at a time, right? And I quite honestly, that's the way I buy them, and I always have. And that way I never think, oh, I wish I bought some more. It's always a case of what shall I do with these ones that are left over? But it was so cute because she was deeply concerned that I might put them in the garden already. All right. And I'm enough of a gardener to know you don't put this in the garden yet. All right. Not until the overnight temperatures are in double digits. All right. That's when you start putting these sort of things out. Although this one probably would make it. But anything that's very tender, right? And this would be fairly tender. I'm busy. What I do at the moment is I put them all outside during the day. And then in the evening, I bring those flats in and put them on my freezer. So all day long, they're getting wind, they're getting chilly, they're getting all the sort of environmental stuff, but they're undercover. So they're not getting frost on them, but they're undercover and but still exposed to the elements, which is great. And one of the things that I thought was so cute, she was so deeply concerned that I might be about to do something stupid and plant these very vulnerable plants. Now, obviously, the winter pansies I could plant immediately because that's what they are. They're winter pansies. So they can go out, and they have gone out, and they're going to look wonderful. But the rest of them, it was just the way she was so concerned. And I said to her, I got gray hair. I've been gardening a while. I know I will not be putting these out. By the way, they're going to be under my deck all day long. And then she started to go, yes, but, and I said, and at night I will be bringing those flats inside. So in case there's a frost, they'll do that every day now until in May. And then in May, they will stay out. In fact, I've already got a couple that I've left out to see, can they take it? And so if I lose a couple, it's not the end of the world. But, I was so touched by her concern for my not wasting my money. All right. And I actually, when I went to pay, I made a point of saying, that lady you've got, Joan, she's a treasure. And I will be back because she cared so much about the fact that I might plant these in a garden, not realizing that it's way too cold for them at the moment. So I want to tell you, I will come back just to be able to deal with her again. And I wonder how many of you agree with me. So going out, I got human interaction, but I also got human kindness. And that was really great for my, whole being. All right. To be amongst all these colors and then to have that care given to me. So make sure you make a trip out every week if you possibly can. I know we're out of the habit of it, but for those of you who are getting pretty stir crazy, it's time to get out and about. So let's talk about colors. How many of you have a favorite color as red? How many of you like red as a color? Now, I think you know that I do have, my kitchen is red, black, and white. Very Canadian, very, very patriotic, or patriotic, depending which country you're in. So what about red? What does red do you think, as a color? They say that red will make you feel passionate and energized. And I must admit that, when I walk into my kitchen, that power black and that power red, just, it does energize me. And I go, okay, what can I cook up today? And that's part of the reason. And one of my queries is, what will I change it to? Now, you will see that in terms of decorating, I am what I call the cheaty person, right? Because I know if I want to totally change my kitchen, I need to change my kettle and some of my tea cloths. Does that make sense? That's all I need to change. Oh, I've got a couple of red cubies up above. You can't see them, but I do have some red cubies to match it in. So what I try to do is to make sure that if I want to have a change of color, I just need to change my kettle and a few of my tea towels, and then I've got a totally new kitchen. And funny enough, one of the colors I am seriously considering, because I saw it in reality, is I'm seriously considering next time maybe going a teal green or aqua color. And the reason is because um, Lynn, who very kindly does some of my thumbnails for me, um, she actually did my Facebook banner picture and turned it into teals and colors, and teal and sepia, this sort of color. And it looked so great. And I thought, I might just do that. If I can find, a teal green or aqua type kettle. And of course, the trick will be, can I find matching tea cloths? And if not, then obviously either gray would go with the stainless steel, or white, but they'll get so dirty so quickly in my house. So remember, if you want to feel more energized, consider bringing in some red to your life, all right? And I must admit, as a speaker, when I used to get up on stage wearing red, black, and white, I always felt very put together. You know what I mean? I felt elegant, but powerful. And so there you go. How about orange? How many of you remember the 70s? What do you think orange does? If we know that what red does, what does orange do? Because it's a mixture between red and yellow, obviously. All right. And so it's an interesting color, and I can understand why it became the color of the 70s. They had orange and brown as colors. And so the orange is a very vibrant color. And again, enthusiasm comes from that orange, and also energy comes from that orange. So it was, a time that I don't necessarily want to go back to in terms of clothing. But, I can remember it so well. And what I found was, I used to wear orange, and then with sort of what I think they call winter white, almost a creamy white, went really well with it. And anyway, it was great. So if it does make a comeback, you understand there's a reason for it. It's a good power color, without a doubt. Now, all of you know yellow, because it's the color of Easter, and it's the color of spring, and it's the color, if you like, with, how many of you associate yellow with happiness? It's sort of like, it's such a cute color, isn't it? And I found that when I bought those deep, bright yellow pansies, and they were big, they were like this big, the pansies themselves, I mean, they made me smile just looking at them. And so remember, if you want to, some of you will remember that I bought these bright, hang on a second. I have bright yellow cushions on my bed, a couple of them, just to bring out that joy. And against that deep charcoal, you can probably imagine, and with white, my other pillows are all white. So you've got this white, you've got the bright yellow, and then you've got the deep charcoal, bluey charcoal behind. So that really brightens up my bedroom. And what I did was just buy the cushion covers. And so when it comes to summer, I will choose to maybe buy another cover, and I'll talk about that in a second. Hi there. Good to see you, Andrea. Big hug to you too. Um, how many of you love the different greens, color green in spring and summer? All right, they're pretty vibrant, aren't they? You've got the deep glossy greens, and then you've got the paler lime greens going on. And so green is really an optimistic color. For those of you, I've got a friend of mine and she loves green furniture. All right. And I can understand, right? It's an optimistic color and also a refreshing color. I think yellow is refreshing as well, isn't it? Yeah. Jody's saying green is cooling and calming. Right. So for those of you that choose to have the aqua colors, it is a mixture between um, that peacefulness and that joy of safety. So it's an interesting one because blue makes you feel safe and relaxed, which is why it was interesting that the experiments they did with those train stations, they found blue relaxed people and they didn't want to commit suicide as much. I think that's really interesting. Yes, Jody's saying sea glass green, that beautiful color that um, glass gets beaten to in the ocean is a wonderful color. And that's what I'm saying. I think that would look really pretty in my kitchen as well next time. I've just got to do a bit of research and see what I can find to match it. So blue, safety, and relaxation. Two nice things to have in a bathroom, I would think. All right. And for those of you who love purple, purple is a creative color, but it's also a regal color, right? It's a royal color. So there's a lot of dignity to purple. And again, if you're on the pastel side of it, the lilac-y colors of purple, um, that's a more playful, if you like. If you look at the pastel colors, they're more the playful colors and cute, right? But the deep purple, right, that's a whole different ball of wax, isn't it? And how many of you are going, even brown has its place, all right? And do you know what brown is about? That is about being connecting to the earth, right? Having your feet firmly planted and so forth. So I found that having some of these and then spraying some of them silver um, amongst them just made a really beautiful bouquet for people. And it was all about the silver of Christmas, but also this sepia color um, that I knew was about um, having a connection to the earth. And black. What do you think about black? I mean, think black is pretty self-explanatory. It's pretty dramatic, isn't it? Black, especially against white and red. So that's an interesting one, all right? The black really shows up against the white. It's a wonderful contrast, but it's a classical color. And the reason that I do this sort of combination in my kitchen is because you cannot go wrong with that sort of classic combination of black and red. When I say you cannot go wrong, it's always going to look dramatic. And you see how little it takes to be that dramatic, all right? And how many of you, when you think about my kitchen, think about those tea towels? Because you see them all the time. Black is also considered to be a pretty serious color. Um, you know, Frivolous people don't normally wear black a lot, right? Except for, things like funerals and stuff. But, you have to be I think you have to be pretty confident to wear black well. How about white? What does white conjure up for you? When you look at, I've got a kitchen that is obviously the accent is black and red, But the countertops are all gray. The floor is gray against the white. How many of you know, it's a gray, and we'll talk about gray on its own in a minute. But gray is a pastel, if you like, of black. So it's black with white added to it. So white, as you know, actually is inclined to be a minimalistic color. All right. So it's a very simple color. When I say simple, it is, yes, Jody, I agree. It's clean. It's hopeful. They also say it is about simplicity. So remember, what I do is I'm inclined to keep everything pretty, I think they call it monochromatic, all right? So I got grays and whites everywhere in the house, but what I change is the accents in each room. So as you saw, in my bedroom, the accent color is this bright yellow. Now this wouldn't clash here. That wouldn't look good. But, when you walk into the bedroom, it's a totally different room because it's got the bright yellow. Makes sense. Interesting. Jody's saying she finds my kitchen very calming. So, Jody, why? Think about that. Think about, why is it calming to you? And while you're typing that, gray, as I said, is, if you like, the pastel color of black. And gray is actually quite serious, okay, and professional. That's what they say. Yeah, Jody finds the kitchen organized, clean, and happy. Ah, that's interesting. I'm noticing that I accidentally left out a bottle of Dawn Power, whatever. Yeah. And that also, when I look at it, looks quite good, doesn't it, against the gray and the white? So that's another thing I could consider. I thought, yeah, that aqua blue would look really good. Anyway, so we will see. So now you've got some sort of idea of why I painted my house the way that I did. I found that gray, deep grays, and contrasting with light grays, right? This deep gray color and then contrasting with light grays just has a really clean look to it, right? Really clean look. And so that's what I wanted to have, that almost like a hotel bedroom. Because I stayed at quite a few hotels while I was, dealing with the fire. But, there is a reason why they paint the colors they do in hotel rooms, all right? But what I really was struck with was that deep dark wall, and then the lighter walls, one accent wall that was really a dark gray, and then the accent, the rest of the walls being a very pale gray. And I really love the look of that. It was so clean. And of course, can you put almost any color against, the gray countertop? Yeah. Right. So if you, this might not be as clean as I like, but if you hide, that's difficult to do. I want to hide the tea kettle. I can do this. Hang on. There we go. So if I hide the tea kettle and the red, can you see that blue actually stands out really well in my kitchen as well? So that's another option, is to go the deeper blue. But we'll see what I can find. But not until those tea cloths are ready. And by the way, those tea towels have been with me for at least 5 years, and I wash them every week. It's amazing, really. If you buy stuff that you can keep doing that with, it's wonderful. So now let me ask you something. How many of you do remember the 70s? Are young enough to remember the 70s? I was already in my teens in the 70s. I think I was already in my teens. Oh, hang on. I was in my teens in the 60s. Early 60s. Hi there, Kimmy. So if those of you who remember that the color orange dominated, all right, dominated our clothes, dominated our furniture. I can remember having orange furniture in those days. And so now then, what about the 80s and 90s? Oh, shag carpet. Yes. Now, you know, shag is back in some ways. I now have gray shag under my coffee tables. You know, just because I can. And I must admit, hang on. I even have a white shag, all right, a white shag on one of my couches, and I have another one on my bed. So if you can imagine, this is like a velveteen, and then the white against the yellow. Okay. And so that looks really crisp and bright. And I did clean my floors, so that's fine. I'll just drop them down there. When I've got the cushion out, how many of you wash your cushions? And if so, how often? How do you feel about that? I want to tell you at least once a month. I will throw this cushion exactly as it is. I will throw that cushion into my dryer while I'm drying a white load. Why? Because just the steam of the white load drying will brighten this up and knock out anything that might be caught in it. And also it fluffs up the shag. Okay. So I love that. And question, how many of you have got fabric bath mats? I know some of you probably have just white, for example, white toweling type bath mats. But how many of you have got deep, shaggy type bath mats? I read an interesting thing about them this week, so I thought I would discuss it. Hi there, Crystal. Good to see you. You know, it's like they warn you not to put them in your washing machine. Did you know that? Hi, Gary. Did you know that you should not put them in your washing machine? The reason being that those deep pile bath mats, whilst wonderful to get out of your bath, is a great idea. The thing is that when they get wet, they are so heavy, they can ruin your washing machine. So, but what I do is, Kimmy's saying she doesn't use them because they carry bacteria, which is why I put my bath mats into my dry cycle with my wet black clothes. I have dark gray bath mats. So what I do is every couple of weeks, what I will do is throw those two bath mats that I have into the dark wash as I'm drying it. Why? The steam will help sanitize it. And also, if you think about it, you know, the steam will also help clean them. Okay. So a question, what about the last 20 years? What has been your color? Has it changed at all? In the last 20 years, what colors have you moved to? As I said, I've moved to more gray, black, and white in the last 20 years. And so I'm wondering if any of you have changed your basic color. Now, some of you are saying, I don't have much choice. You know, the apartment I rented already has a color. But, you know, they are inclined to keep very basic colors in rented apartments as well. I found it difficult when I was in my rented apartment because they had too many colors that in it, as far as I was concerned. But that's a personal thing. I like to keep mine, as I said, I like to keep my colors pretty monochromatic. In my last house, all my walls were almost a very light beige. All right. Interesting. Crystal is saying, I used to love pink and baby blue, but my favorite colors now are black and white right now. Now, the thing I want to ask you, Crystal, is have you changed as well? Were you more sort of little girly before, and now you are more, hello, things are pretty black and white for me now. You see, in my life, there are a lot of gray areas. I am prepared to have the black and white, but I also have, yes, Kimmy is saying that she loves pastel colors. And if you talk to Manon, there is no other color but pink. If you talk to Erin, there is no other color but pink. All right. Thanks, Ricky. I'm going to presume that you're not a troll, and time will tell. So just know that I'm going to take that as a humorous comment. All right. So think about how you have changed and how the colors that you choose to have in your life have changed as well. But people have said to me, don't you find that the gray is dulling? No, not at all. Why? Because I brighten it up. All right. I make sure that I brighten up so that the gray isn't the dominant. You get your eye goes, I think you all agree, your eye goes immediately to that red kettle in the kitchen. All right. And I know that. And the rest of it is like, I mean, you think about it, other than the bottle. Let me take the bottle away. When you think about it, that's the only color you can see in my kitchen. You can also see a red mug and a black mug. But, it is like, but boy, does it brighten up. And all I've got is that bit that brightens it up. Yeah, Crystal's saying, I would say so. I was more playful and adventurous, but with time has come more responsibility. So less time for play. And that's why you move away from those pastels and into the more solid colors. Interesting, right? Jeannie's saying gray can be a good background color too. The same with brown. Yes, as I said, my previous house, the underlying color was almost a taupe, browny color. Very light, but that's what it lent towards, And I had to change all my carpeting when I moved into the house. When I originally moved into the house, I didn't, because the flooring was in fact that taupey gray color. But when I redid the floors after the fire, I decided I wanted gray because, I wanted it to match the countertops. Yeah, interesting. All right. So Gary's saying, I used to love very bright colors like red and green, but in the past few years, I've preferred the darker colors like blue and purple. Yeah. And again, that makes perfect sense. I think it's because I'm growing up, all right? I don't want to draw too much attention to yourself, which is why I started wearing darker colors, I think. Yes, very professional. The darker colors are very professional. They're very, don't mess with me. Whereas the pastels are more frivolous, Gary. Does that make sense? So if you want to be taken seriously, think about the colors that you wear. Interesting. Does anybody else notice that as they have got older, their color choice has changed? Now, obviously, we will always have the underlying fashion color, all right, which in the 70s, I think we all know it was orange. But the 80s, I can't remember, can you? And the 90s, I can't really remember. But boy, do I remember the color of the 70s. Right? And when you think about it, that was the time of freedom, all right, in so many ways. We were burning the bra in the 70s. We were, late 60s, 70s, we were doing Woodstock. It was all those sort of things. And I think the color really represented the time. Yes, Jeannie's saying, I enjoy making statements with my clothes colors, all right? I love using bright colors. And so you look at it and go, think about that, all right? What I love about something like this, okay, now I only have one color and this is it. But you know, what I love about having something like this gray is it's really easy to brighten it up, all right, with a different color scarf, for example. All right, and now we can do the test. Okay, so, okay, so you see the red kettle really stood out, and that is stoneware. That does not stand out there. So what do I know? Um, what I now know is if I can only find a really great color kettle, but not the matching tea towels. How many of you know I can use gray tea towels and black? All right, I don't have a gray to put there, but you can probably imagine it, right? Yes, Jody's saying, I love using yellow accents in the kitchen. Makes me smile. Yes, yellow, as I said, that's why I use it in my bedroom. Yeah. I find that when I walk in and you can't see that a solid mass of yellow because I've got my regular pillows against it and then the smaller shag. So you only see a touch of yellow. But how many of you can understand that's just enough to brighten up the room? And it makes me smile. I agree, Jeannie. I smile when I see the color yellow, especially that vibrant yellow. So, what I want you to understand is these are choices we make. If I want to totally change the mood in my bedroom, do you understand? I just need to change the covers of those cushions, and I've got two of them. Now, here's the question, right? What color would you change it to in summer? Because what I'm going to do is try and have a change of color in my bedroom for each season. All right. And obviously, the yellow will go away until next spring. All right. But now, as I'm planning, you know, I always like to be prepared. I'm planning for summer now. What color would you put against that deep charcoal bluey gray for summer? And I actually went looking to try and find a deep, I think they call it cerise, but I got men in the room. So it's a deep pink, if you like, not a purpley pink, but a deep, yeah, almost this color. How many of you know that that would make a great color against, you know, a dark wall? All right. Actually, that was basically the color I was looking for. But I couldn't find it. But what I did find was a velvet type, almost heather color. You know, it's a little bit more on the pink side and more muted. And I thought, you know, that would look really pretty against the white for the summer. So that's what I'm going to order up. Now, for the autumn and winter, I thought I might go for um, a gold. All right. And you know, but I'll see. The nice thing is, I don't need to change everything. I just want to change two cushion covers. Does that make sense to everybody? Because it will change the look of the whole room because it's what you see as you walk into the room. And so the other option was to go the aqua color. All right, there's almost this color. And I might do that for the fall. I know you're probably going, well, fall is more about, yeah, maybe I'll go the golden in the fall, and then maybe this bright aqua for for the winter. That would cheer me up in the winter, that's for sure. So, have any of you had feelings of great joy this week? And the reason I wanted to talk about the joy of color is because if you think about it, I went out to give myself joy this week, all right? I gave myself an outing. Good news was my car started. The other thing is I gave myself opportunity to interact with people I didn't know, all right? That's good for my mental health. I I spent more money than I meant to, and then heard I was going to be getting I'm going to be getting a tax rebate. So, duh, I don't feel so bad now. Hi there, Professor. Um, yes, that's a good point. Professor saying that I think movies are a great example that demonstrate how certain colors evoke certain emotions. Do you want to give us some examples of that? You can normally tell, right, the movies that were made in the 70s because of the clothing. All right. Remember, we had the wide lapels and the orange and brown thing going. But it's a good point, that if you think about it, those people who are. How many of you watched Schindler's List? The other one was The Sixth Sense. All right. Both those movies used gray, black and white coloring, but had red as the focus every now and then. The little girl in Schindler's List had a red coat. So you look at it and go, it's been used really well in movies. A good point, Professor. I like that. Interesting. Professor saying dystopian movies have rusty green palette to show society in decay. Yes, and yet green isn't necessarily about decay, but I understand. How many. That's actually a very interesting observation. All right. And then how about when you see anything to do with heaven? What colors do you see? All right. Whenever they depict heaven, be it in comedies or anything, but how, it's always that fluffy white and pale grays. All right. It's so interesting, isn't it, that we see that? Good point. I like that. Anybody else got any? Yes, heaven is normally depicted by baby blue and white. Right. And Professor's saying white for heaven and godliness, and red for romance, yellow for happiness. All right. So, yeah, red roses. All right. For romance. So, red is a really good color. It's one of the colors I considered for my bedroom. And I'm still considering it, but I'm going, it would have to be the right red. That's why I wanted almost that, cerise, more on the pinky side of red rather than dark red. Interesting. I have a burgundy red in my area next to my fireplace, which looks very warm. And it's old worldy, to have that burgundy red, all right? And I have it mixed in with my horse brasses and my brass accents and things. So that's good. I don't want a red wall, Kimmy. I try to keep my walls as neutral as possible, except I could do an accent wall in red, but I choose not to. I already have chosen my accent walls, and they are a particular color. But yes, if I totally wanted to change the house, I could change all my accent rooms colors. Good point. All right. And so think about that. That's the whole thing. you can change it very quickly just with one or two small changes. And how many of you feel a lot more comfortable now we're back to the normal colors? And, it's amazing, isn't it? I think I moved that the wrong way. Yeah, I did. It is just amazing what such a small amount of red can do to change the whole look of something. Or, this again is a color combination I think would go quite well. So, yes, a good point again, Professor. Professor's saying that even brands, use certain colors to entice you to buy. If you want to get your message across, using a yellow background with black writing is obviously a very impactful way to do it. I spent many years in the advertising business, and that whole psychology about colors and what gets people to buy stuff is really interesting. So you can probably understand that people, if you've got funny enough, yellow writing doesn't do it as much as the, black writing on that bold yellow background. It stands out so clearly. All right, and the professor's also saying Apple uses minimalistic color palette like black, white, or ceramic gray. Okay, to give the impression of luxury. Now, there you go. So how many of you can see that those are the colors, right? The black, just trim the gray and white. If you take that little section right there, all right? Yes, and Apple, by the way, it wasn't just any old white, was it, Professor? I believe Steve Jobs spent months picking the right white. Interesting, right? It wasn't just white. He had to have what he considered the right color white. And apparently he was that fussy because he knew once he picked it, it was going to be forever. So therefore he wanted the right white. And if you think about it, who would pick white as a cell phone color? It is just like, how dirty is that going to get? But that was, again, the material from which it was made was very important. And now, of course, with smartphones having black screens, and we can just wipe the black screen, we're not busy putting, putting our fingers on keys anymore, because we're just putting it on the glass and the glass cleans easily. So you look at it and you go, be aware of how important colors are to our life. And when you can see that, you will also be able to see that we need to be aware that we can change our whole mood if we want to. Now, you will know that one of my viewers, Charlotte, has chosen to go out and walk, or at least get outside for half an hour a day. And how many of you can understand why that is beneficial for her mental health? If you get outside, what's the first thing that always strikes you? It is the color. All right? There's a different sense of color when you go outside. And so you look at it and you go, it's a really important thing to go out and see all the different colors. when we think about walking in a forest, we're thinking of the greens, all right, and how peaceful walking in a forest is. Yes, Kimmy's saying that one of the ways that she copes with the winter, all right, is to take vitamin D and also going outside and get your vitamin D, right? One of the benefits of going outside is if the sun is out, you're getting your share of vitamin D. Now, for some of you, you've still got white on the ground, but how many of you know there's nothing prettier than to see white on the ground and bright sunshine at the same time? The blue, the ice blue, and then the sun. That combination is very uplifting. And so when you think about the drama, remember what was said about the drama colors, all right? You think the passion of red, but the drama of black and red, all right? And so you can change your mood any way you want to. Just change the colors a little bit. Now, I find it interesting that all winter, my clothes are inclined to be grays and blacks and reds, sort of coloring. And then now as we start moving over, you will see I start to lighten up into whites and some pastels. I do wear some, but that is the interesting shift. And with it comes a change of my mood as well. So did you all understand that about your bath mats? If you've got bath mats that are shag, when I say shag, but they're deep pile, don't put them in your washer. Just literally put them in the dryer. And if you don't want to mix them in with your other clothes, some people don't want to do that, then put them in the dryer with a swim towel, something that will help absorb moisture, and just tumble dry them. The steam from that happening will freshen them up and kill any bacteria. So I thought you would like to know about that. And as I said, it's really interesting for me that my pillow like this on my bed, I'm inclined to lean against it or lie against it. And so after a couple of weeks, it gets flattened. But all I do is I just tuck the whole pillow into my dryer as it is. Just put the whole pillow in. And I've got balls in my dryer that help bash it about, and it comes out looking brand new. So thought that I would share with you on that one. And I wonder what else you think you can't put in a dryer. All right. As I said, I put I have those white shag, one next to my bed and one by my vanity, and they go in at the same time. All right. Because basically they don't get dirty. If they do start to get dirty, because obviously I will walk on them a different way, I will just put them in maybe once every other month and wash them. And by the way, they do wash well. I was quite surprised. What are you feeling about spring? What are you going to do this spring? And the reason I ask you is because how many of you are going, it is time for me to change up a color or two here? Anybody? And if you were going to change your color, what color would you change to? I'm sorry to just be distracted for a second. I just want to get up some quotes. Nobody? Interesting. Kimmy's saying she wants to paint her front room, but I don't know what color yet. All right. So what are your options? Jody's saying, I'd like to paint our living room walls a grayish misty green. Yes. Wouldn't that look pretty? Paul Gauguin, the artist, said color. What a deep and mysterious language. It is the language of dreams. And basically, if you think about it, artists create, a whole different universe almost with the use of color. All right. And some were very bold with the colors they used, and some very muted. So Kimmy's saying that she quite likes that as well. That muted, misty green. Do I have anything that color? Yeah, maybe. Jody, would it be the sort of the color of that band, almost? So that's a interesting color as well. And what I always try to think about is what colors can I use against that? Would it look okay with black? Would it look okay with blues? Yes. Yeah, so Jody's saying it's similar but even lighter. Yes, so think about that. And if you did, what color would you do an accent wall if you did your walls that misty green? And how about this one? It said that color is a power which directly influences our soul. We know that about yellow and the pastels of Easter. All right. How many of you just get energized by seeing that? Yellow does breed happiness. All right. That's why I got yellow pansies. But against them, I bought black, almost a black, smaller pansy for that impact. All right. Because I wanted the yellow to look even more bright. All right, Gary, feel free to ask and be aware that our admin will nuke anything that you might say that is controversial or whatever. All right, that's her job. So just keep it good, please. And it was interesting. Gwendolyn Brooks said to spring, remember, green is your color. You are spring. So we always say that spring is yellow, but how many of you agree that green is also the color of spring? All right. Gary, I've got a feeling you are older than college age. Would I be correct? There are two ways to deal, and it's a fair question. Gary's asking, there are a bunch of kids beat me up in college. What should I do? There are two ways to deal with it, Gary. It depends which side of the fence you want to sit. There are those that will say to you, and I had it happen to me within the last year or so, don't let a bully get away with it, fight back. It's the only way you stop a bully. I disagree. There are other ways to stop bullies. And so to my mind, letting them know that they don't have power over you. And, that works well as well, which is, hey, yeah, you can beat me up, but, yeah, I'm not going to change anything. And there's that, sympathy factor. I'm so sorry you feel that you've got to beat people up to be strong. All right. And if you think about it, most bullies are cowards, right? How many bullies do that on their own? All right. They're always in a little mob, aren't they? So, it's just like you've managed a couple of years of college already, and did they beat you up the whole of the time? Because if you're in your final year, then you haven't got far to go, in which case, keep doing whatever it is you've done. I actually normally give bullies a warning. I had one that threatened my life online. And, I just said to them, hey, I cannot stop you threatening my life, but I hope you realize that in Canada that is illegal. And you threaten my life one more time, I will be reporting you to social media. But in the meantime, I want to tell you that you just threatened my life. And therefore, when I finish this broadcast, I will be reporting you to the police. And I did. And then later, that person got back to me and said, how could you do such a thing? How could you report me to the police? And it's caused me so much trouble. And I said, because you threatened my life. So there's that other part that says, hey, if you want to report these people, why not? They're abusing you. And I don't know many colleges that actually tolerate abuse of their students. Georgia O'Keeffe, the artist, said, I found I could do things with color and shapes I couldn't say any other way. Interesting. Gary's saying that he actually pulled a silly prank on them. Okay, and now they just beat me and my friends. Have you reported them? If they beat you up, that's grievous bodily harm. You see, I would just say to them, hey guys, that's enough. Do it one more time. I'm reporting you to the police for grievous bodily harm. And do it. Don't threaten it. Do it. Make sure that when you are walking near these guys that you've got your cell phone on, record them. Make sure you've got the evidence that they did it. Make sure you got witnesses that saw it go down. It's just like, this is the way. Yeah, I've got a feeling, though, that Gary may be just having a little bit of fun here. But if not, Gary, I don't understand why you haven't reported it, and something would be done. But if you expect it to go away without you doing anything, you don't have to fight them back physically. You can fight them back in different ways. I'm also a great believer in just turning around and do that. So if they're hunting you down, okay, so now that Gary's saying, I've done that, but they snatched my phone and destroyed it. Excellent. I hope it was insured. But now you've got another legal argument, all right? They actually broke your property. And, Gary's saying the school dean is one of the guy's uncles. That shouldn't make a scrap of difference. Then go to the police. All right? Go to the police. And, I don't want to, people say to me, I don't want to do that. I said, do you want it to stop? Because if you do, go to the police. What you've got is destruction of property and grievous bodily harm. No brainer for me. I had one person who said my nails were false, all right? And I let her play that game for a while, but after a while, I just wrote to her and said, "Hey, I don't know if you know that legally what you're doing is called defamation of character. You're saying that I pretend these are my real nails, and therefore you are saying I'm a liar, that they're not real." Well, first of all, who would have false nails that aren't the same length? That's a good giveaway for starters, right? Because they break every now and then. And so I said to her, I just need you to know legally this is defamation of character. And if you've got a lot of money to spare, I would be happy to take you to court for saying I'm a liar. So back off or be prepared to hire a lawyer, which will be very expensive. All right. And Kimmy's saying, I can't believe that's happening in college. Everybody's supposed to be adults and act like ones. Yeah, that's a judgment, right? Yes, and quite honestly, it is the faculty's job to maintain that, and it is the campus police's job to maintain that. So maybe the fact that nobody's reporting them is why it carries on. And if they've broken your phone, so you look at it and go, okay, fine, yeah. But what I do want you to understand is that color can change your world. Matisse, and also a famous artist, said color helps to express light, not the physical phenomenon. I can't say that word. Phenomenon, but only light that really exists in the artist's brain. Yeah, Jeannie's asking how many trolls are we going to get today? Quite a few, apparently. So, as I look at my feelings this week, I had, a strange sort of up and down. What about you guys? I had the joy of all the color and playing in the dirt. I love that. But then I also had the disappointment of seeing my blood glucose numbers just refuse to come down. And so I look at it and go, how did I swap the feelings around? How did I balance out those negative feelings and become more positive? The other thing I found, and I don't know whether it's due to my medication that I'm taking or whatever, but I found that I'm sort of very zen-like suddenly. It's like it's not that I want to be lazy. I just feel very much at peace. And that is really a strange sort of feeling. Have any of you had a week like that where things just are peaceful in your mind? And I hope that you have, because it is really a lovely feeling. But there's part of me that goes, yeah, but it's not motivating me to get up and do things. And yet I did things. I did do things. I do have quite a lot of achievement in my week. But it's interesting, isn't it, that we feel. I found somebody that I know is just about to retire, and I said, oh my gosh, you are going to be so surprised. All right? You are going to be so surprised. So, for those of you who are retired, it's amazing how you slow everything down, isn't it? And again, did your color palette change when you retired? That's another thing to think about. And as we think about spring and the feelings that we have around that, how many of you are spring cleaning? And what is it that you are doing in terms of spring cleaning? I must admit that it's, that time of the season shift. The first thing I ask, as you all know, do I need new underwear? I always ask myself that every change of season, is it time to order more underwear? And I ordered a new bra for the summer. It's just like, it's one of those things that I do. I started already getting seeds that I want to plant in the fall. And so here we go. I want to have these next spring in my tubs, all right, because they're so bright. I think the calendula will actually bloom this year, so I will just plant that out in my tubs just any minute now. And I bought myself some time. All right, so Jody's saying that she is spring cleaning. So far, it's just decluttering. Well, that is a huge thing to do in terms of spring cleaning. Oh, interesting. Jeannie's been doing some historical, doing that on Ancestry.com or whatever it's called. She's finding out about her family, and she discovered her dad, excuse me, her dad and family came via Liverpool to Boston. So sorry, this nagging cough of mine is still carrying on. Amazing, isn't it? I don't know what that flu was, but it certainly did mess with my respiratory system. But what the heck? I'm still here. That's a great hobby to have, if you're into that sort of thing. Yeah. And, do any of you do your genealogy, you check, those sort of things, where did my mom and dad come from, and actually create your own family tree? I come from a family, this is going to blow a lot of you away. I come from a family where not one of my brothers or sisters had children. Now, my stepbrother and my stepsister had children, but my brother and my sister did not have children. And that isn't the funny part. The funny part is across the whole generation of my aunts and uncles, the children did not have children. Isn't that amazing? Wow. Jeannie's saying, I often wondered about their journey because they were older, right? And they started from Minsk. Wow. That is a long way. And it's so topical right now, all right, when you think about what's happening in the Ukraine. A couple of things that I wanted to say in the news. I don't know if you guys have heard this, but the Academy did come out with a punishment for Will Smith. For those of you who saw that happen on the Academy Awards, he is banned from any of their events for 10 years. I think that shocked a lot of people. Maybe a year or two, yes, but 10? That sent a very strong message that now, can he still win an Oscar? I believe so. He just can't receive it in person. He can't, be there. And I'm pretty certain they probably won't want him up on camera either. And so if he does win an award, he won't be able to receive it on camera. Now, I still don't know whether he's allowed to even receive an award. I think they cannot stop him from being nominated, that's for sure. Judy's saying that Richard Dreyfuss was horrified at Smith's behavior. I think an awful lot of us were horrified at his behavior. But as I said, could I see the other side of it? If I were Mrs. Smith, would part of me be very grateful that my husband stood up for me like that, especially when I'm ill? I think so. I've got to see both sides of that. But do I believe in violence? No, absolutely not. So I totally get that. The other thing is, I understood that in Ukraine today, the Russians bombed an evacuation train station. In other words, thousands upon thousands of people, 3,000, I believe, were waiting to get onto trains, and then they bombed it. I don't know about the rest of you. When are they going to be held accountable, and will it be in time? You know, the other thing I am just really concerned about is the cost. All right. So if you think we're seeing the cost now, give it a year. We're really going to be able to see the cost of this. Jody is saying, I wonder if his actions will have impact on the Academy voting on any of his performance. All right. Will impact his chances of even receiving another award. I would say, if you think about it, who votes for those Academy Awards? The actors. All right. The actors are the ones that vote. So do I think other actors will hold him in judgment? I don't know. Some, I guess. So, it's a really interesting dynamic. Jeannie is saying she saw a Russian soldier in custody who supposedly thought he was fighting Nazism, and he had a swastika tattooed on his back. It's just like, if you think about it, there's some horrific things going on, things that we never dreamt of. I believe that they've now got, roving crematoriums so that they can get rid of the evidence of how many people they've killed. I mean, it's just like, it is getting so horrific, it's not even funny. And it's going to get worse because, I think it's the beginning of May sometimes that Russia always has that big parade in Red Square, and they want to announce a victory. So, in the next couple of weeks, I think it's going to get way worse. And what they will want to do is have the whole of that Donetsk region, whatever they call it, of eastern Ukraine done. And done would be the word, I think. Now, how many of you remember the little rover, if you like, called Perseverance that landed on the moon? All right. Every now and then, I don't know about you guys, but every now and then I go to see how it's doing. And the little helicopter. And I like to check in to see it's really doing quite well. Right? It's having quite the time. It's traveled about 5 kilometers already. It's in that crater, and it's traveled quite a lot of that crater. It's amazing. I think it's really magical. And I keep thinking about the helicopter thing. It's done about 24 flights already. And I don't know about you, but if you were the pilot sitting in a chair somewhere, guiding that helicopter on the moon, can you imagine how powerful that must feel on the one hand? But on the other hand, can you imagine how scary that is? What if I mess up here? you know, I don't know what the value of that helicopter is, but I'm pretty certain it's pretty expensive. And, if I go back to that, how many of you are noticing how many drones are being used in the battle in Ukraine at the moment? Yeah. And the courage, as Jeannie is saying, all right, the Ukrainians are still singing their anthem and fighting for their land and freedom. I think they will be difficult to beat because of that. All right. I heard of one village that, they rolled the tanks in, and this little village almost, just stopped an entire column from getting to their town. Now, the outskirts was damaged, but the actual town itself remained pretty well protected. So there are going to be lots of hero stories. I think that was something that I read somewhere. Whenever you see disaster, you will also see the heroism. All right. You will always see people doing good when people are doing bad. And so, what stories have you heard about Ukraine that made you go, wow, isn't that wonderful? I'm thinking about all those people who are making sure that as the children arrive across the border that they get a teddy bear or some toy. I think that's wonderful. Or I'm not sure where they give them to them, but the amount of teddy bears that those children are all carrying, that is amazing. How there are tables and tables of clothes for people to choose from so that they can get, a change of clothes. And, I look at it all and go, there is so much humanity going on in places like Poland and Moldova and things like that. There's so many good people out there trying to help. And you imagine, I think Poland alone has got well over 2 million refugees going through there. That's, if you think about it, even if they flew nonstop planes out of there, that takes an awful long time to clear that many refugees. And I love how many people are volunteering to help in that process, helping them feel normal, helping them just cope with the day to day. And I don't know about you, but whenever I hear about an atrocity on the one hand, I immediately go looking for the peacekeepers. What are they doing? I want to see the stories of joy, because they are there if you look for them. You don't just have to read the bad stuff. There will always be heroes, and there will always be bullies. But as I was saying, I think the thing that has amazed me most was the number of drones that are being used. What is possible to do without having boots on the ground? But I also say all this is at a cost. A lot of those missiles that the Ukrainians are using to take out the Russian columns of tanks and so forth, those missiles are like very expensive, very like $26,000 a time. And they are using them like candy. And so, you look at it and go, this has already cost the US 1.6 billion, I think. If I read that correctly this morning, $1.6 billion worth of stuff has been sent to the Ukraine through various ways, but that's how it has happened. So who pays for that, right? You do. And we do. How many of you have noticed a change in the cost of things? I'm starting to get a lot more, I spend more time checking my shopping list to make sure I've got the best deal. For example, I wanted to show you this. I like salted caramel in my, this stops that plugging up. So when I want to use it, I just take the toothpick out. But normally I pay about $17 for one of these. And this time I wonder if I can get it more cheaply. And I did. I got a different brand that has a plastic bottle, which fills up the landfill, I know. But I got it 2 for the price of 1. Now, what's it going to taste like? I'll let you know next week. Right now, I have no idea. But I got 2 for the same price. And the other thing I found interesting, hold on a second. I normally buy my dish soap when it's on sale and you can get 3 for roughly the price of 1. All right, I buy it like that. But this week I went looking and I found 5 liters for less than the 3 pack. And by the way, same brand. So Remember what I said? Whenever you can, buy big. That will probably last me well over a year. But I'm really doing that. Again, a reminder to all of you. All right. I don't know if you use flour, but flour is going to be in very high demand because Ukraine is the breadbasket of the world. All right. More wheat gets planted in Russia and Ukraine than anywhere, I believe. So when you look at it, because that supply will no longer be going to Europe, the wheat that is grown in other countries, including the US and Canada, is going to need to go to Europe to help top up Europe's needs. And so make sure you've got enough flour. I now have 20 pounds of white flour stored up so that that would last me at least a year, more probably, because every day I make my daily bread. And about once a week, I make some dough, and then I put it in little baggies like this, and then just every evening I make myself my own bread, and that's how I keep the portion control. Is I'm only allowed to use that much, and it's amazing the things that we can do. For example, this evening I will be making samosas out of this. Or maybe I'll actually make some real samosa dough. I don't know. Anyway, that's part of what we're going to be doing tonight. So remember to buy flour. I also have whole wheat flour and rye flour, but not in such big quantities. So please be aware that it's going to get worse before it gets better. And I now have my freezers full. And just a reminder that because the cost of grain is going up, the cost of feeding cattle, sheep, pigs, horses, everything is going to go up. And therefore, a lot of farmers will be culling their herds down, making them not as big. And that means if you're lucky and got an empty freezer right now, you're going to be able to fill up with some pretty well-priced meat. All right, so Kimmy's saying 2 times I bought flour and it had flour bugs in it. Oh, aren't they horrible? So now I store it in the refrigerator. Yes, I actually must admit there is a reason why they always used to sieve flour. And I got a feeling it wasn't for lightness. It's a feeling because they wanted to make sure there were no bugs in it. Yeah. Jeannie also is making samosas for lunch. So, that's great to hear. I wanted to have some fun with the different ways you can fold them. How many of you, just want to play with them a bit? So that's what I want to do today. And but just a great idea for leftovers, a great idea for saving a lot of money on food, quite honestly. So let's do that tonight. If you have any questions that you would like me to talk about, please make sure you write to me at DearMamaSal@gmail.com. And remember that our feelings are our own. Nobody gives us our feelings. We do that to ourselves. And if we know that and understand it, then we also know only we have the way out of those feelings. And, when you can actually put your feelings on hold and just deal with the fact, it's amazing what a difference it will make in your life. If you realize that, gosh, my bedroom's looking a bit blah these days, you can say, oh, I can't afford to do anything about it, or you could buy one cushion to make a difference. All right? And Kimmy's saying that those flower bugs are so nasty. I quite agree. You know what I found though, Kimmy, what I do, hang on a second. I have this press and seal stuff, whatever it's called. Yeah. I have this stuff. And what I do is whenever I have flour or rice, I take, let me show you. When I fill up with flour in here, for example, it's nearly finished, so I'm about to do it. What I will do is after I put the new flour in there from the bag, I will take some of this stuff and put it sticky side down so that if the next time I open it up there is anything stuck here, then I know I've got a problem with that bag of flour. So, of course, there's some people saying, don't worry about it, it's protein. But I understand, Kimmy, and I want to tell you, I had it once, and it took me the longest time to get rid of them, I can tell you that. And I agree with you, they get into everything. You'll find them in so many of the bulk bins and so forth. So, yeah, very important to keep control. Does anybody else have any ways of getting rid of them or identifying that they're there? Normally, you will see a sort of almost like a cobweb effect inside your container. All right, you will just see a little cobwebby type thing. If you see that, the chances are you've got larvae in there. So, good point, Kimmy. It's a horrible feeling. I can, having had it once, I don't ever want to go there again. So that's why I've learned to do this. And, quite honestly, what I will do is I will take a very fine sieve and then sieve the whole lot out. Yeah, I agree. They get into any food that you may have in your cupboards and so forth. Yep, I quite agree. So a good idea to keep them, if you've got room in your freezer, keep the bag in the freezer. If you've got a big stand-up freezer that you can put them in. I don't have room in mine. I had to take them out. But make sure you make a habit of sieving your flour for that reason. All right, so hope you enjoyed the color in your life. And if you're feeling a bit blah, get out and go see some color. All right? If you're feeling a bit down, go out and be amongst color. It will brighten you up. I don't know a day that hasn't been made more fun than going and spending a couple of hours at a nursery. So I do recommend that you do that. And Jody, I love all your little tulips and things in there. That's so pretty. All right, everybody. I will see you this evening as we have fun making different sorts of samosa things, triangles and circles and all sorts of things. And by the way, as usual, I won't be deep frying them. I will be air frying them and showing you the difference between, deep frying it or doing it in there. So this is DearMamaSal saying thank you so much for being here. I hope you have a wonderful afternoon. We'll see you this evening. Bye-bye for now. Thanks, Jody and Jeannie.